It's been said that when a UFC fighter enters the octagon, the world holds its breath.
Oh my goodness! It looked like he got him with a right hook uppercut. No judges needed tonight. Esto para ti, señor Temo.
But what happens when the shadows of UFC come to light, revealing a side never seen before? When we talk about the UFC, the thought that comes to everyone's minds are the flashing lights and the glamour and glitz of the octagon. How did the UFC come to be? What made it what it is today? Beneath the glitz and glory of UFC's octagon lies heaps of buried secrets. So join us as we disclose the most top secret information about UFC's obscure roots. The year is 1993. UFC is just founded by Art Davie, Rorion Gracie, and Bob Marowitz. The first ever UFC event is about to begin with 8 passionate fighters entering the octagon. But soon the initial excitement was turned to despair, with the UFC struggling desperately to stay afloat with mediocre crowds and barely any television coverage. In January 2001, many thought of UFC as a sinking ship. Strict regulations, poor public image, and lack of star power just being a few of the reasons why. In came Dana White, the savior of the unfamiliar fighting entertainment business. He saw an opportunity where no one saw it and helped UFC become a word known the world over. Rumor has it that the initial acquisition of UFC by the Fertitta brothers was actually just part of their grand plan to legalize MMA in Nevada. Being casino owners, they realized the influx of customers a sport like this would bring, so they purchased UFC to open doors for secretive activities to take place in their own casinos. Others say that it was just fate, and that UFC was bound to fall into the hands of Dana White and the Fertitta brothers. Regardless, along with his friends Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, he set out to take the risk of purchasing UFC. With additional financial backing from the Fertitta brothers, the trio successfully acquired UFC for $2 million, a rather small investment for soon to be one of the biggest sports in the upcoming years. The master stroke. As UFC came under White's leadership, you would have thought he would stick to its roots. But White had other ideas and immediately shifted the headquarters of the UFC to Las Vegas, the city of lights and lust. With advantages from all sides with this decision, it fell nicely into the grand scheme of the Fertitta brothers as their passion business thrived. Understanding the importance of entertainment in attracting audiences, the Fertitta brothers used their established connections in transforming the UFC from a struggling sport to a mainstream attraction. The infusion of entertainment and violence gave birth to audiences blurring the lines between sports and aggression. A star was born. With UFC setting base in Las Vegas, the seed of fame had already begun to sprout, leading UFC to gain unprecedented amounts of fame. Bold marketing and promotion let UFC gain traction in the most obscure areas of the sporting world. In 2007, UFC made the bold decision to acquire Pride, gaining access to a large market and a roster of the world's top talent. Under White, UFC gained attention for its edgy attitude and willingness to broadcast uncut, uncensored fights inside the octagon. One key turning point, however, was when UFC launched the Ultimate Fighter reality TV show in 2005. This groundbreaking show gave watchers an insider's point of view on the struggles the fighters go through, creating bonds between them. But due to its intense and unfiltered nature, UFC faced extensive criticism and regulatory hurdles, but it was just a stumbling block and nothing that the trio couldn't handle. With continuous questions regarding the sport's aggressive nature and unorthodox methods, the UFC faced many questions from fans and public alike. The crown jewel. Enter Conor McGregor, Irish accent and everlasting swag. The golden boy of the UFC brought entertainment to the crowds and also to his opponents. With his reckless trash-talking and bold fighting style, and an MMA record of 22 wins and 6 losses on his belt, he was the first UFC fighter to hold championships in 2 weight classes simultaneously. Fans were attached to him like magnets. His psychic ability to always accurately predict the results of his fights got him the nickname of Mystic Mac. His dominant knockout of Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds in 2015 and his fierce match against Floyd Mayweather launched the sport of UFC into the mainstream sports conversation. Sometimes criticized for his style of talking, McGregor was a fierce fighter known to match and exceed his trash-talking in the octagon. The Clash of the Titans. With Conor dominating opponents and his title secured, in came Khabib-Nurmagomedov, the ultimate challenger to Conor. With his unique style of fighting and unwavering Dagestani spirit, Khabib was a force to be reckoned with. As Conor McGregor's fame grew, he found himself on a collision course with another powerful force in the UFC, Khabib-Nurmagomedov. Khabib joined UFC with a 6-fight agreement in the lightweight division in late 2011. He debuted with UFC on FX1 on January 20, 2012, and won by submission against Kamal Shaloris in the 3rd round. It was a fight for the centuries. Khabib and McGregor had been going back and forth since March 2015. Conor McGregor relentlessly taunted Khabib, including the incident of 2018's bus attack, where McGregor broke a window when Nurmagomedov refused to exit the vehicle upon McGregor's arrival. Conor continued attacking Khabib's family and the fact that he is a Muslim, including the incident of posting a picture of Khabib's wife at her wedding, calling her a towel. These bitter and heated interactions made their fight one of the most anticipated around the world. In October 2018, the night of the fight, the atmosphere was absolutely electrifying. The tension sensed in the arena could be cut by a pair of scissors. From the opening bell, the fight was an extremely fierce one. Though McGregor landed quite a few powerful shots, Nurmagomedov secured the submission victory by tapping McGregor out with a neck crank. Fans were exhilarated, but what came next couldn't be predicted by anyone. Khabib leapt over the cage and attacked McGregor's training partner, Dylan Danis. Khabib's team stormed the octagon, leading to an intense brawl. The fallout from this fight included fines and suspensions. The UFC caught people's attention and was a mainstay. As the roars for the Conor vs. Khabib showdown still echoed, it became clear that UFC was no longer just a mere sport, but a global phenomenon that brought worldwide fans together, setting stage for upcoming fights, including that of Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jedrzejczyk in April 2018, and the Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero's electrifying rivalry in the middleweight division on March 8, 2020. The UFC has unearthed many a talent and has brought many fighters recognition and fame out of nowhere. Fans from all over the world anticipated fights, and the sport became bigger and bigger, and so did the money and recognition. Stepping stone or stumbling block. As ferocious Khamzat Chimaev continued to take UFC by storm with their dominant performances, the pay of the fighters has become a strong talking point. With fighters such as Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman heavily vocal about the pay of the UFC, attention has turned to Dana White and his earnings. At present in 2023, White is said to be making around $20 million as his annual salary. He is also set to be UFC's president until 2026. And even as new UFC ownership is on its way, White is said to receive 9% of future profits following the investor's purchase of his holdings during the whole acquisition. Many sources have verified that White will receive approximately $360 million from the $4 billion sale of the organization. The future? But with so much going on, does the change of ownership mean that UFC has reached its end? Or is the ferocious sport here to stay? This is a rare opportunity to create a global live sports and entertainment pure play built for where the industry is headed, said Ariel Emanuel, CEO of Endeavor. But upon the merge, WWE shares fell nearly 10% in early trading, and Endeavor slumped about 2%. As whispers of uncertainty circulate, it's difficult to give an answer with 100% assurity so early on. But under White's presidency, the UFC is here to stay.